Hello, my name is Stevie Martinez, and I am a double bassist with the Long Bay Symphony Orchestra in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and also a lecturer in music at Coastal Carolina University. I'm here to talk to you about the upcoming audition excerpts for Old County for 2024, the high school excerpts. So we're going to take a look at excerpt number 1, the Mayor. This is set at a quarter note of 64, so it's quite slow in tempo. And that's what's really necessary for us to observe are the subdivisions in this tempo. So if we're at 64, that tempo could sound something like this with the metronome click. And we're thinking about also subdividing while we're listening to that metronome 1 and 2 and 1. And then also the quadruple subdivisions that we see with the 16th notes, 1E and a 2. And then also highlighting that that tied variation into B2 and measure 114. 1 and a 3, 4. You always want to put yourself mentally in the game when it comes to these excerpts, especially with these slow tempis and also kind of variegated rhythms. If you can sync through it and also say all the rhythms precisely, then you're going to have a lot more confidence in the approach and execution of this piece. So saying right out loud, 1 and 3 is already putting me in the mental game of this piece. So I'll turn off that metronome just so we can have a little more conversation here. But all of this, especially starting off, it gives you a lot of great suggestive fingerings. I would use these all day long. So just kind of combing through the fingerings with this, we start with a 1 on the G. Now we can go for the F sharp with a 3, and then highlighting the harmonic with the 3. We can also take a Roboth approach, where we play the F sharp with the 2, and as I'm playing that 2 with the F sharp, I'm kind of spider crawling up that the fingerboard to allow me to that G. So just think about, especially with hand size, if we have smaller hands, sometimes the 1-3-3 approach works. If we have kind of a larger hand span, then that 1-2 may work. I'm kind of in between, so it depends on the day on that day. Now with this, although it's piano, we can think about a lyrical piano. So not hidden, but still has some kind of melody to it. And it is a very beautiful melody. So be expressive when it comes to this, and locking intonation before vibrato. And then going forward, especially with this, so if we're at 3, I would catch this with a 2. So let's shift down to 1, and of course 4 for the E. Stay on the G for the solo sound. First position here. You can pass through the open G with this one because it is a faster rhythm, but that punctuation of the G needs to be nice and articulate. And you can really dig into it since there is a crescendo there. So we have so that measure right there, 115, I would pass through the open G. That's totally fine as long as you have a good articulation and contact. Traveling up the G. I like to go, so you could do a 1-4-1-4 on that approach of the 116, 1-4, 1-4, D sharp with the 2, locking in your thumb in that D hook area. First finger and thumb match up in this this higher shift in the neck, and that D sharp's going to lock right in with the 2. And I would play B on the D string, the highlight, and a crescendo. That way I could travel for this low C in the next measure. And something really fun to think about, especially when you go look at the score, at 117 and 118 are what are the other instruments playing. And what they are playing is the motive that you see in beats 3 and 4 of that same measure. Da, 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 basses repeat. Da, 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 now it's your turn. So at 117, we can have, and also thinking about the sound, because it's easy to rush these half notes. Measure prior, 116. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Da, 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 dee, da, da, da. And always think about how you're ending these pieces, not just choking the sound and just taking all that magic away. As you saw with the retardando, I was subdividing the eighth notes when I'm slowing down, because that's going to be very accurate mathematically and rhythmically, and just making sure that we're all locked in. And with those two noodles, you can bring those out. Make it real beautiful and magical, especially at that low range. A lot of fun with this excerpt, but just maintaining that tempo, integrity, and subdivision is what's going to really separate you from the rest. All right, we're going to take a look at excerpt number 2, the Chanson, and what we're going to look at is measures 55 all the way through 81. So this is an arrangement. Obviously, in the orchestral score, the original score, the basses are actually playing what the cellos are playing, along with the violas and violins. While there's a lot of fanfare from the woodwinds and brass instruments, and there's even a lot of percussion instruments and timpani. So there's a lot of noise that's going on with this excerpt. And so with this, we can have a lot of freedom when it comes to open strings and also open string crossing. So with this, especially since it's kind of this gypsy-ish vibe, especially with these beautiful scales, we can have a lot of fun just kind of exploring these more open sounds and also open fifth sounds, which we hear a lot with the cellos and other instruments, or especially when it gets to the coda at the end. So, with that in mind, don't be afraid to approach the open strings in this excerpt. It's a fast piece, especially in this part, but just articulation is what's going to be necessary. The composer did put rest in those areas of those eighth notes, so take conscious effort to execute those rests. We can always think about, especially with the approach here, all these fingerings look pretty good. Okay, going right to half position right out of the gate. There's a lot of double ups that you need to be conscious about. Right at the start of the excerpt, there's no double ups. Taking it slow. Stay in half position here. And what's really necessary, especially that last couple bars, the last 4 bars, I would draw in your bowings. Down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down. So we're always conscious about how we're ending. The in-between can get lost, especially if I'm kind of thinking about this every time that I change bow. But if I think about how I'm going to end, up, up, down, I can work backwards. And then, and then, and then, and then the whole start. And then, of course, it goes into this wonderful other part of the piece and a lot more involvement of the instruments. So with this, we can think about what the cellos are playing, so we're not rushing those eighth notes and eighth rests. It's very easy to rush that. Right? Just jump in the beat and it's not in a groove. So think about what the cellos are playing. And that is what we want to lock in. Those last two notes were not right. Okay, we'll get them right. So, just thinking about that area, you can also practice with your cello friends and/or just play the excerpt, read the excerpt of the cello part, and then go back to the bass, and then it's ingrained in your head about what's going on. And then it becomes a lot more fun to think about how you fit in this role as a bass player. You are the foundation. And always think about those accents. We don't have to be so where we scrape the string nice and on the string, punctuated. Think about a little bit more weight into those accents, and then it's going to just pop right out. Super fun excerpt. I always enjoy playing this piece, and I hope you have fun practicing this one. Best of luck with everything. Happy practicing.